What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Omega Greed YouTube channel, where we do a whole bunch of fun things with cars and we learn how to work on all the cars together. If you're new to my channel, my name is Jeffrey. We do videos on this 2017 Ford Focus RS alongside the 2020 Hyundai Veloster N and the 2001 Mazda Miata, which is the track project vehicle on the channel. But yeah, right now we're doing a video just on this Ford Focus RS. This is my first week with the Ford Focus, so I'm gonna give you guys my driving impressions, kind of how I feel about the car so far, and just how it's been just driving this car. So I'm just taking off right now. So if you guys don't know, previously I just traded in my Dodge Challenger RT with the 5.7 Hemi V8. Just got rid of that. Also got rid of the had a lifted Jeep Grand Cherokee and got rid of that on the channel. So this is now like my primary or my daily driver vehicle. First thing is though, my first driving impressions, this car is very practical. If you're looking for a like sports car, a fun daily driver car, this car, it fits that bill. It is very, very practical, just in the matter of fact of like, as the 4 doors, as you know, room for 4 people, I was able to fit my parents in the back. They actually wanted to go for a quick drive when I first got the car. I took them for a drive, you know, and everyone was totally fine, totally comfortable, and you know, so it is a fairly practical vehicle. 4 doors, the nice trunk. I was able to fit like camera gear inside of the trunk. I went to go film something, and all the room in the world to fit everything inside of the bag. Like, so just as a normal things, this car is very practical. I mean, granted though, I would say comparing it to the Challenger, I think the Challenger is definitely the most practical, like 2-door, like, I call it more of a muscle car than a sports car, but 2-door muscle car, definitely the Challenger was the most practical just because it was so large inside, had so much room. But yeah, I think this honestly though is just even more practical just because it does have, you know, the 4 doors. It is a hatchback. So, you know, from just a technical standpoint, the car is very, very practical. Very, very easy to drive. Yeah, the one thing I do want to mention, now this car, as far as driving dynamics and how hard it is, if you don't drive stick normally and like you're looking to like buy a Focus RS, you know, how do you think, like, how would I think you would probably do? I think it's fine driving. Like, I literally, when I bought the car, which I did a video on this, when I traded in my Challenger and I bought this car is literally like 3 hours away. And you know, when I first test drove it, the first day, I just jumped right in it and I was able to drive it. Now, I'm not saying I'm the most skilled like manual driver in the world. Like, I had, like, my daily was a couple years ago. It was a 2012 Camaro RS. That was like my first manual car. I had that. Actually, looking back, I actually did have a couple manuals. I had that. I had an older, like a Mustang on the channel, and also the Miata, and also the Hyundai Veloster N. But that car is technically my fiance, so that's her car. So I've driven stick before. It's not like I haven't driven stick, but I wouldn't say I'm like an expert or anything like that. Like, I could drive. But yeah, jumping in this car, I mean, it felt fine. Literally, like, I've just jumped right into it and like just been driving like with no problem. So I think it's fine. Like, if you can drive stick, yeah, you shouldn't have any problems really. It's a pretty basic, normal, like newer manual car. The clutch is not too heavy, it's not too light. It's just, it is what it is. It is a normal like manual. But yeah, just driving it every single day now, it's like, it's all second nature to me. So it's not even like an issue at all. Like, I don't even think of this car as manual. It really just becomes like, it is what it is. It does has that auto stop start feature. I turn it off. It is a little bit nerving to just have the car shut off on you, like when you're at like a red light or something like that. I see why you would want it sometimes just to save on gas, but honestly, I just turn it off. I mean, but you know, it does work pretty well. So like, yeah, the car would just shut off, and as soon as you put your let your foot off the clutch, it just starts back up, and you just start moving again. So it's, you know, it's a fine feature to have, but I normally just turn it off. But now I know the big thing that you guys want to definitely hear about is probably the power and everything like that. Holy fuck. So yes, so I did trade in my Challenger RT, which, you know, had the 5.7 engine, you know, It's healthy. I wouldn't say it's the most strongest thing in the world, but it's a healthy engine. And go. Couldn't get traction. Just jumping into this thing feels completely different. This is my first, this is my first, 4-cylinder turbo that I've ever owned, and it definitely is a different driving dynamics. And so I'm just getting on it slightly. That's the one thing though. This car, it doesn't. If that's the one thing the Challenger definitely has over it, is the sound. Four cylinders, they just sound like 4 cylinders to me. But with the technology of having a 4-cylinder with a turbo, this is just faster than the 5.7 engine. That's just what it is. Granted, you can make the 5.7 a lot faster. But this is right out of the box. It's faster. It's more fuel efficient. It's just a smaller engine, but it doesn't have that V8 sound. And that's one thing though I will probably do. I will do a catback exhaust. I don't really like when you take off of a catless downpipe and stuff like that. I feel like it just doesn't sound great. It's a WRX, it's passing by, but I feel like it doesn't sound great with a catless downpipe. That's just my personal opinion. I think 4 cylinders, they sound fine, but when they're just too unrestricted, I think they just sound a little bit it's just a little bit too much for me, my personal taste. But yeah, I do miss the actual V8 sound. So of just actual power, this thing, I did do a couple launches in this car. I wanted to feel what the launch control felt like, and I will say this thing launches pretty aggressively. Right now, which that video will go out later, I actually just did a stage 1 tune on the car. I'm actually going to be looking to do a custom tune on the car. I don't want to push it too far. I know I do want to do a little bit. I do get the catback exhaust. I will go with a custom tune. But for right now, I'm just doing stage 1 and just have a aftermarket air filter in, and just with a stage 1 tune on. But yeah, so the launch control in this car, it launches pretty aggressively. I did it only a couple of times. I'm not planning on launching it 100 times. I just wanted to see what it actually felt like. This is my first time having a car that had an actual launch control, and yeah, the launch control in this car, it works pretty well. I do wish it was a little bit more easily accessible. You have to go into the settings to actually do the launch control, and it's so it's when you do want to do it, it takes a second to get into the system to actually do it. But once you do it, it works fine. Actual drivability power, this car feels really healthy, really strong. Yeah, now the one interesting thing though, for me, coming from, this, like I said, this is my first turbo 4-cylinder. All my other cars before that they were all naturally aspirated cars. The power delivery is different. In this, even though the turbo was small, there still is that turbo lag, and then all of a sudden you go into boost. And yeah, when you go into boost, you feel that turbo shove. It gives you that more dramatic feeling of okay, here we go, and then boop, there it is. And more than that, the naturally aspirated vehicles is kind of a more linear power band. There's not a big whoop. But so that is cool with that. Yeah, but this car though, the power delivery, just driving power inside town, it feels really peppy. Yeah, I literally when I just downshift and not even flooring it, just baby towing it, right now, just yeah, I'm definitely moving. So yeah, I don't feel like there's any lack of power, if that makes sense. you know, I honestly normally drive the car in normal mode. Sometimes I put it into like sport or track mode. When I do put it in track mode, if I'm just driving around, I'll put the traction control back on. I have to turn the suspension back in, you know, normal mode. The suspension here is, yeah, it is rough. When you put it in like sport mode, it is rough. People said the Veloster N, when you put that inside N mode, that gets really rough. This is definitely worse than that. I mean, that's what all the reviews said. So I knew going into that, like, yeah, it's not a luxury vehicle. It is still a sports vehicle, but yeah, it definitely drives a little bit rough. One of the things I will say about this car is that the fact that it is low too. Now, there's the one thing I didn't really think about. This car is very low. So going into my job, I have to be careful going into the driveway just because it is so low to the ground. I will scrape the front. So I do have to be a little bit more careful. So that is one thing you do have to worry about. Granted, though, I'm a little bit used to it because my Challenger was pretty low as well. So I was just used to like always looking on the ground, like looking, make sure you don't run over anything, and make sure you kind of clear stuff. So you kind of have to go up stuff kind of sideways, but that's normal car, you know, car guy stuff or car girl stuff. If you have a lower car, you just have to be more aware of it. But overall, though, I will say my first week with the car, I am pretty impressed with it. I'm very happy with my decision. The car, it feels great. It drives great. The only big differences for me is, so I'm used to driving rear-wheel drive cars. So for me, this is my first. Yes, this is all-wheel drive, but once all the full power is engaged and you're above, I believe, it's some speed, it's basically just front-wheel drive. So for me, there is a little bit of some torque steer, so you have to get used to that. But overall, though, the car still feels fine and healthy. So just get into it slightly. Corvette owners just waved at each other. This does have really nice cracks and pops, though, when you like let off. It's not as dramatic as the Veloster N, but it still is a nice little treat, though. But yeah, guys, so that's pretty much my quick impressions on the car. The car feels great. I love it. I'm definitely planning on doing more stuff to it. Definitely planning on modding it a little bit more. Another thing I will mention, though, the looks of the car. I think the car looks great. I really do. From the front, I think it looks great. The only thing I don't really like about the car is from the rear, looking back, it looks a little bit, I don't know what, it just doesn't have that as a aggressive look as the front. The front looks really aggressive. The rear, I feel like, just doesn't look as aggressive. When you look at it from the side profile, like a side back, I think that looks great, but just straight on from the back, it doesn't look as great. I think the Challenger, to me, it just looks like, to me, the Challenger is like one of the most beautiful cars, like, that's just on the road right now, just because it looks so different. I know it's hard that I keep comparing it to the Challenger. It's completely different, but there is that. And the other quick thing I do want to mention, though, this car, I feel like if you don't know what a Focus RS is, most car, like if you're not like a car enthusiast, most people will just like, oh, that's a Focus, and they'll just be like, oh, it's something, but it's a Ford Focus. They won't really know. So I feel like it doesn't get as much attention from non-car people, but I kind of like that. I like the fact of it's very like hidden, and only if you really know, you know, then you will like appreciate the car. And I kind of like that. There's something different. It's like, it's not as flashy. I mean, the car is definitely flashy. Like it does look different, but it's not as like in your face, like, okay, cool, look at me. It's just like a subtle, more like classy and like elegant, like, okay, cool, there's something there, and if you don't fully know, you're like, there's something there. But yeah, guys, so in the next videos, you will be seeing my install of the Stage 1 tune, how to do that, like kind of a step-by-step like look at how it's done. And I also will be comparing this car to the Veloster N. So if you're interested in that content, check out my channel if you're new to my channel. Yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like this video, give it a like. Follow me on Instagram, Omega Greed, the same name as the YouTube channel. And like that, guys, we're out of here, and we will see you in the next video. See ya.